Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to part number 3 of Epic of Pain. Now this is one of the two parts that has to be done twice. We did it once yesterday with the Size Champions and Tech Champions, and today we're going to attempt it with Cosmic and Skill. So the nodes are going to be Death by Debuffs, Force of Will, Galvanize, Give Me Shelter, Outside In, Cold Turkey, and even Punishment. So to keep it simple, the only way you can do damage to the opponent is when you apply a debuff on them. Every time you apply a debuff, you're going to take 2% of their health away. Now, the first fight is against the Nebula, and she does apply a lot of shocks on you if you hit her in her block when she has Galvanize active. The way you notice that, if you see a lightning bolt with a blue lightning bolt with a cooldown, that is the phase when your shock phase is active, so you can safely parry her. But remember, she also auto blocks a lot, so you just have to use medium, light medium during the stun. But the good part about Knull is that his medium attacks cannot be auto blocked, so I am just using parry and mediums to apply those debuffs with the Living Abyss debuffs, and with every debuff I am doing quite a bit of damage. Now, what are the champions that you can use here? You can use Medusa because she's anti-robotic. You can also use Gore here. You can also use Scream. Knull is my favorite for the whole path. He can literally run the whole path with Odin, so he is amazing. Also, Annihilus can also work with all of his armor breaks, but the important part is that when Nebula is in her unblockable phase, just hit her in her block and try to corner her. Do not try to parry, because she's going to break that and do quite a bit of damage. So simply put, during the unblockable phase, hit in the block to create space, and during the shock phase, use parry medium light mediums or parry medium mediums. In my case, you can use a striker as well, again medium. When apply those debuffs, then should be able to take out Nebula quite comfortably in the end. If you use Medusa or if you use Scream, because of auto block or undermine, they will not be auto blocked, so it'll be a much faster fight there as well. If you hit Nebula in the block while she is in her shock phase, you're going to get a very hefty shock that's going to do quite a bit of damage to you. So take care of that. Other than that, this fight is doable. It might take 1 or 2 times. You have to restart to get the hang of the rhythm of the fight. And after that, you should be good. You should be getting through Nebula quite comfortably in the end. And moving on to the next fight. I've given you a few tips that you need to take care while doing this fight on the right side of your screen. One important one is to turn on your Resonate Mastery, and that will help you do damage to the opponent, because you will apply weakness every now and then. That is a non-stun debuff, so that should help you kill off Nebula faster. Now, once you get done with Nebula, the next fight is going to be against a NorthStar. Now, this fight can be annoying or can be super easy as well, depending how you approach it. I'm going to use my Knull again, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep hitting in the block so I can apply the Living Abyss, and with every debuff applied, he's going to take damage. Now, keep him to an SP1. That is very important. You usually would need a miss counter, but if you don't have a miss counter when it comes to cosmics, that's okay. Knull is really good in a way because he can apply those debuffs from within the block, so you don't have to actually hit the opponent. You can just hit in the block with the mediums and he will apply the debuffs, so he works really well. So you have to keep NorthStar to an SP1 only. SP2 is difficult to evade, but it's not really impossible, but it does get quite tricky, so be careful in that. And if you have to use a special, make sure you time in with your dash, because the only way you can use special is when you're dashing in. So yeah, the hard part here would be to manage the bubble shield charges, because if he starts hitting you, he is really going to stack those bubble shield charges in the block, and then the 11th hit is going to be unblockable. And like this, just like how I am cornered, you can also get cornered like that, because his specials cover a lot of distance. So what I like doing when I'm playing with Knull against NorthStar, I like only to hit him in his block. So just 3-4 hits in the block, so that helps me create space. And eventually, if you do 4 hits in the block and you take NorthStar into the corner, he is going to give you enough space for you to maneuver around. Also, when you hit in the block, the Untouchable does not activate. You do not miss after a special, so it's better to hit in the block. You will apply those living you will apply those living debuffs. So that will help you, the living abyss debuffs, that will help you deal damage. And you can also keep NorthStar to a corner. So the fight was going so good. And then I messed up, but I was able to kind of evade that SP2. So that worked out in my favor. But expect to use 1 or 2 revives here. But if you're like a top level player, you can get this solo as well. So yeah, that is all for this fight. Just to recap very quickly, keep NorthStar to an SP1. Try to hit him in his block if you're using Knull. If any other champion, you have to apply those debuffs. Try to bring in a counter that is anti-miss. That can help as well. And after every special attack, he is going to kind of get untouchable. That will cause you to miss. So just be wary about that. And you should be able to get through this fight. It might cost you 3 or 4 revives. Again, it's easier said than done, but this fight can be soloed as well. So I will leave you with the rest of the fight with a little faster replay, so I can move on to the next one. On another note, you can use different champions here. There are also some skill champions that you can use that I have not mentioned here. So any skill champion that can apply a lot of debuffs. So for example, your Elsa Bloodstone, she will also give you a good opening against NorthStar. You can use Black Widow Deadly Origin as well. Silver Sable is also another option, so you can use them too. To be honest, you can run this path only with Resonate Mastery as well. It will just take longer, but it's still doable. So ideally, you would want one champion that has easy access to buffs and debuffs, so you can run the whole path with him. And if you have only a champion that can apply debuffs, you can always bring in Odin pre-fights and you can apply all of those buffs on your champion from Odin and then use him for the whole path. So this is one of the paths where there is a lot of options available, but the path is tricky because it requires more skill and more patient gameplay. Fight number 3 is going to be against our very own Destroyer. Yesterday we took him out easily with the Size champion, but today he is going to be a little bit tricky. Now I would suggest you to use only skill champions here for one of 2 reasons. A, the class disadvantage is not there. If you're using a Cosmic champion, Destroyer does not gain the extra HP. Secondly, Destroyer's Sig ability does not come into play because the Cosmic champions will have a lot of buffs. The more buffs you have, the more damage you will take from Destroyer's Sig ability. So it's better to use a champion that has less buffs. Skill champions are the best option here. So basically in this fight, you just try to manage his power and his special attacks. So if he throws a heavy attack and you are able to punish it, you will get a grit on yourself so you can bypass his unstoppable. Apart from that, I would suggest you to push him to an SP2 and get used to evading that, so you don't give him that burst of power at 100 charges, with 100 destruction charges. But every now and then he will throw a SP1 and that might be unblockable, so you need to learn how to evade that as well, and then let the debuffs do the work. The more debuffs you apply, every second you can remove 2% of the HP from the opponent. So just here an SP2, going back in at the end, apply the debuff, 30,000 damage. So this path is all about applying the debuffs. To be honest, you do not need like highly ranked champions as well. You do not need rank 3s. You can use rank 1s or rank 2s even, and you can get the same kind of result from it. So again, don't use Cosmic champions, use your skill champions. And if you have to turn on Resonate, that will also help you. Petrify and Wither will help, but there's not many champions that have that. So I think your regular debuffs like Shock will work, your Incinerates will work. So any non-bleed debuff will work against him, and just keep an eye on the unblockable. And yeah, it will be a slow fight. It will cost you revives. I think this cost me a couple of revives as well. So, but I was able to get through this fight eventually. So take your pick. I've seen a lot of people using Silver Saber against a Destroyer. Black Widow Deadly Origin was also a popular choice. I just have Elsa's Bloodstone. I just love her playstyle, so I just use her. Take your pick and you should be good to go. Next up, we are going to have Photon, and very similar to past two, we are going to apply those debuff on Photon while taking care of all of the power gain and everything with Stage Fright, Languor, and Flabbergasted, and Overconfidence nodes. So basically, you will apply the damage only when you apply debuffs, but you will constantly gain power. So the difficult part here is to space out your special attacks, because if you get to 0 bars of power, you take damage with Languor, and a lot of times you will just die. So if I throw an SP2 right now, look at the yellow cooldown underneath my health bar. I have to wait it out before I can throw another special attack. Otherwise, that goes into cooldown and I take quite a bit of degen damage. So to avoid that, I will have to dance around. So just right here, I'm just waiting for it to come up using a striker here. And here we go again. I have another SP2, so I can take Photon to a corner. Now, ideally, just like to stay away when her light form is active. But again, you have to make sure that your main focus should be on the power gain, not on her shenanigans, because you will last longer if you keep an eye on your power. Now, if you're getting too much power, you can hit Photon in her block twice, and you will notice there is a Petrified that is helping me lose my power. So anytime Stage Fright is active and you feel like you're going to go to 3 bars of power, hit Photon twice in the block. That will give you a Petrify, and that will help you reduce your power. So it's like a seesaw of power between 2 to 3 bars, and that helps you kind of get through this fight. You notice I get to 3 bars of power. I got power drain. I took a lot of damage and I'm down to 11%. So this is a fight where a lot is going on. The reason I like Knull here a lot, because I can just hit Photon in the block and I can easily get those Living Abyss debuffs on Photon. But remember, in this fight, I have to avoid hitting in the blocks. It's not like the other fights. So some other options that can work here are your regulars like your Medusa, your Gores, your Scream, Knull, Elsa Bloodstone, Black Widow, Deadly Origin. All of those can work. This fight does require a bit of patience, but slowly you can take out Photon. It will cost you 2 to 3 revives, which you should be good. Next up, we are going to have Adam Warlock. So this is the time if you brought in your Odin, this is where you apply all the pre-fights, because you are going to need those buffs to do any kind of damage because of buffed up node. Apart from that, there is death by debuffs. Always forward, don't interrupt me, so do not medium intercept him. That is going to hurt you quite a bit. He's going to remove all of your buffs, all of your armors, and do you damage. So the way this works is whenever he will throw a special attack, after that there will be a cooldown. If you're not able to throw a heavy attack onto him in that cooldown, he's going to apply a soul barb on you, and that is going to deal you damage. If you're able to throw a heavy attack, just like this at the end of SP2, you will notice there's a soul barb on Adam Warlock, and he will take damage depending on how many buffs he has on himself. So this is the name of the game. Keep applying the debuffs, try to push him to an SP2, because that is much easier to counter with a heavy. Otherwise, you can bring in a striker and then throw a heavy attack, but you need to be very quick, because that soul barb can be really damaging on you. So what I like to do is to give him less power, I will just bring in Knull and I will only hit in the block. Because if I do regular hits on him, he's going to gain more power, but if I do hits on his block, he's going to gain less power. So I can mitigate his power as much as possible. And as soon as I get an SP1, I just throw it out. So yeah, this is the whole fight. I would say just bring in, just turn on your Resident Mastery if you don't have. That is going to help you quite a bit. And also, you will need champions with 3 plus debuffs. So champions like Medusa will work here. Your Scream will be a good one. Gore, Venom, Knull that I'm using. And just giving a mention to Odin with his pre-fights. If you're using Odin with the pre-fights, you can also use any skill champion, and that can also work. So plenty of options here. I would suggest just bring in an Odin anyway, and then you can use Odin to help supplement your skill champions, and they can do quite a bit of damage for you. As a final thing, try to push Adam Warlock to an SP2. I know I said that before, but just repeating it, it makes it much more easier to deal with this fight. So you will throw an SP2 here. Let's wait it out. There we go. And as soon as he drops down, we can throw a heavy attack, and that is going to be our loop, and we can get through this fight. Of course, it will cost a bit of revives, maybe 3 and 4, but you should be good getting through this fight. It cost me like 3 to 4 revives, but I was able to bring Adam Warlock down. And the final fight is going to be against an Aegon. Now, this is an annoying fight that is going to cost you a bit more revives. So, the nodes are Death by Debuff, Combo Shield, Combo Warm-Up, Reinforcing Rush, Clean State, Cross Counter, Seaman Shoes, and Free Spirit. Let me make it very simple, right? Every time he throws a special attack, he's going to apply a cross counter cooldown on you. If you are not able to knock him down within that counter, you are going to take a lot of damage. So the hard part is that you cannot parry him because he's going to do a lot of damage, because he is at 1000 hits and he can crit through your block. So that is going to be a problem. So there are 3 ways you can deal with that. You can throw that heavy attack. One is to keep pushing Aegon to an SP2. Because his SP2 is much more easier, you can space it out, and then you can kind of time your heavy attack at the end of SP2, and that is an automatic heavy attack. Second one is you use your striker and you use the stun of it to throw a heavy attack. Third one is that you drop an intercept. As soon as you drop an intercept on Aegon, you are going to get a bulwark buff on you that is going to give you like a gazillion block proficiency. So then you can reliably parry Aegon and then throw a heavy attack. So these are the 3 ways that can work out. Now it's easier said than done. You can use other champions as well. There are plenty of options. Again, I like Knull here because he gives the least amount of power to Aegon. I cannot hit Aegon, but just keep hitting in his blocks, and I can keep applying those Living Abyss debuffs, and I can keep doing damage to Aegon. So I will keep him to a minimum of specials and use that to my advantage. So I can hit him in the block at least 6 to 7 times before he gets an SP1, and that means 14% of his health is down. So Knull is a great option here, but other options I've shared with you. So I hope this path kind of helped you out. It's very similar to the one I shared yesterday, just different class champions, but it's one of the easier parts. Aegon definitely is the rubbish fight in all of Epic of Pain. You can get through that this path is not too bad. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. I'll be back again with the next one soon. Bye.